My mother is the daughter of Holocaust survivors, and my father comes from a strong Jewish identity as well.
My father helped write the Constitution of Czechoslovakia before World War II. My uncle was a leader in the Dutch underground, only to be captured by the Nazis and to be killed at Auschwitz. And my mother drove ambulances during the Blitz in London. So I have a deep commitment to feeling a part of the history of a country, of our people.
Jaime Shorenstein was my great uncle. Jaime Shorenstein came to this country as a small child with my great-grandmother, Sarah Shorenstein. Jaime got involved politically around 1917 or so and was the first elected Jewish district leader in New York. He became a powerful district leader. He was someone that was connected on a personal and political level with Al Smith and Herbert Lehman and Franklin D. Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt. When Roosevelt ran for election for governor in 1928 against a Republican, Ottinger, who was Jewish, he stayed with Roosevelt and he brought over enough votes that Roosevelt won the entire election by just 25,000 votes, and had he lost, he never would have been president. As a couple, I am truly blessed to be the husband of Janice Shorenstein. I've taken great pride in all of her accomplishments. From a very early age, we've been involved politically in many other organizations, but JCRC is near and dear to our heart.
I'm the past president of JCRC. Women for Women was New York Jewish women who reached out to the wives of the United Nations ambassadors to encourage them to learn about Jewish life here in New York. I then got involved at JCRC with developing the strategic plan, and after that, I became the president of JCRC.
Marissa, we got her involved at age 3.
As an only child, it was often that my mother would take me with her to her work engagements. And so I spent a lot of time as a kid going to board meetings, going to events, going to JCRC rallies. It was eye-opening for me to, first of all, see how engaged she was and committed she was to ensuring the legacy of the Jewish community, both here and Israel. It was an opportunity for me to carry on the legacy that my mother had established. I was the chair of the development committee for JCRC for many years, and that afforded me the opportunity to work with the great team that JCRC has assembled to try to engage a younger generation in JCRC to continue the legacy of the work that they do.
I grew up in New York City. I went to New York City public schools. I was the district leader on the west side of New York City, and I ran for the City Council of New York.
We were married in New York. We decided that New York would be our home.
Working with JCRC was really the culmination of being able to contribute to the city. JCRC is really a unique and very important element of the fabric and of the future of the city of New York.
JCRC does such wonderful work in so many different areas, but the area that I think is most important to me is really the work that they do with communities across New York City, communities that are not Jewish. JCRC works to build bridges with those communities.
The missions that JCRC conducts in taking legislators to Israel is critical in the way in which legislators then behave, vote, and really react to Israel.
We have gotten much more out of this organization than we ever could give to it.
The Continuing Legacy Award means so much to me and to my family.
It represents a family effort over many decades.
It's sort of the culmination of all of the work that my parents have put in.
The values it represents are compassion, building bridges between peoples, assist the city in times of crisis.
Because it represents the continuity of our family. Together, we have really built what we consider an important contribution to the Jewish community. But the greatest legacy is, for both of us, the fact that Marissa, our daughter, has been involved in JCRC as well. And she represents the values of JCRC and of Judaism.
They instilled in me a sense of wanting to give back to others, and that's a huge part of our lives, not just to the Jewish community, but to all communities. And that is something that I grew up with. It's something I was exposed to from a very young age, and it's something that I'm trying to expose my own children to now.
It is something that is profoundly important. I can't think of anything more important that we could leave behind than this.
I was born in a family that had deep ties to Israel. I went to Israel for the first time when I was 4 years old.
We grew up in a kosher home in Brooklyn and Brownsville. Religion was kind of embedded into the practice of life, as was Friday night Shabbat dinners with the entire family. Growing up, I took pride in what Israel was accomplishing. It was really Janice who inculcated my great commitment to the state of Israel, what it represents as a safe harbor from anti-Semitism, as a place for our people to go, as our people's homeland.
The first time my parents took me to Israel, I was 8 years old, and we went with my grandparents and my parents. The second time I went to Israel at the age of 13, I was part of Mayor David Dinkins' delegation with my parents. And that was a truly eye-opening experience. I took a plane ride and sat in between Mayor Dinkins and Dr. Ruth for 14 hours on a plane. At the age of 14. And so I got an education in politics and sex all at the same time.
My proudest achievement is having established the annual lecture series at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. And I did that in memory of my parents. Both Stuart and I felt that this was a place, an opportunity for people across the country, from every background, to learn about what the implications of the Holocaust were and what it means for life here in the United States.
I was very instrumental, along with one of my colleagues, in obtaining the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously to the 3 slain freedom fighters, Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner from Mississippi back in 1964. That was a truly gratifying achievement to see the medals awarded and their contributions to civil rights recognized. And the fact that it brought Jews and African Americans together.
With JCRC, I feel very passionate about what we've been able to continue to accomplish with the organization, continue to move it forward, continue to be not just relevant, but critical to bringing people together.
But I think that our greatest accomplishment, achievements, Stuart and mine, is really that we have a wonderful daughter. She's got values that we appreciate.
There is no one that has instilled more in me, given me more confidence, given me more support than Janice.
I could not have achieved anything in my life without Stuart. He has been by my side. He's been a supporter. He's encouraged me. He's always been there to make me feel that I can do better.
The values we hope to impart to our children and to our grandchildren, and in children I include Marissa and Carl, who is like a son, are those that they live an honest life, that they be compassionate about others, that they care about the environment and treating people honorably, both in business dealings and in personal dealings.
On a general level, I hope that I can help toward overcoming anti-Semitism by virtue of the educational programs that I've helped create. On a personal level, I pray that my grandchildren will be a chip off the old block, their mothers and their fathers, exhibiting decency, exhibiting an outstretched hand to others and an open heart. To me, that would be the greatest mark that I could achieve in life.
The greatest mark that I could leave is to ensure that I have done well by my parents and the values they've instilled in me, and left those to my children.
I think that as a unit, we believe in the legacy of Judaism and the future of the Jewish people.
This is the mark that we can leave. The Jewish people have survived for 5,000 years by passing the torch from one generation to another, one at a time. And that is the mark that we hope we can continue into the future. And if we are successful in that, we can rest easy wherever that may be.